Hey guys, what is up? It is Seatin here, the self-proclaimed man of legends. Now, I've had absolutely tons of requests recently for sort of a Defiler guide, a how to play Defiler, tips and tricks, and all that kind of stuff. Now, I'm fairly I'm a bit of a novice at Defiler because it's a really complicated spec, and it does have a lot of stuff that it can do. So, while some Defiler guides and people tend to focus it mainly on a healing spec with a kind of sub-damage, I'm going to show you how I play it, which is from a damage perspective with sub-healing. So when I'm playing Defiler, I mainly focus on damage, but also I'm always aware of the tank's health and ready to step in when that's needed, and I'll explain how I do all of that. So with the rotation for Defiler and the build that I have, so the build is 61 Defiler, 7 Inquisitor and 8 Kabbalist. Now it's fairly straightforward. The Inquisitor and Kabbalist are for more damage and also to get a shit ton of more dots, which do a fair bit of the build's damage and make it even more awesome in comparison to some of the healing variants. Now, buff-wise, I have Rage Blight, Armour of Devotion, Feast of the Fallen, and Chimera's Gift on. Now, only Armour of Devotion and Rage Blight really kind of do anything in a raid environment, so just ensure that they're on at all times. If you want more healing, which, as I said, this build's more DPS focused, you can change Rage Blight to Grief Blight, but in this build I'm going to use Rage Blight. But unfortunately, due to not being in a raid and nobody taking damage, I'm actually not getting 20% damage increase that I should be from Rage Blight. So that kind of sucks. So as prep work, the way that Defiler works is you have 4 links. Now, you want to put these links on melee targets, or targets that are basically going to be in melee range of the boss. Sometimes melee DPS are unreliable, but luckily range is a pretty good spec at the moment, so you can put it on pets that are also going to be in melee range. And your 2 strongest links, Link of Agony and Link of Suffering, one negates 30% damage and one negates 20%, those should always be on the tanks. And the other 2 can ideally be on melee DPS or pets, just basically anything that's in melee, due to the fact that whenever you use pain transmission, everybody that's got a link on them is also going to have a pain transmission come out. So as you can see there, it was about 7k hit. In a raid environment, when you got 5 stacks of Rage Blight up, it's going to be at least about a 50k hit if you're in melee as well as all of your targets. So it's a massive DPS increase to have it all your targets in melee and use that whenever it's off cooldown. So it's actually it sounds a bit complicated because there are literally so many dots in this spec. I'll sort of demonstrate this in a minute. So you've kind of got to break it down into a priority list, which I'll write in the description of this video. So ideally, top of that priority list is going to be pain transmission, because it just hits like an absolute truck. Literally, it's about like 50 fucking k damage or something stupendously high like that, and that will really sort of carry your DPS and bring it up. Apart from that, there's going to be Siphon Vitality, Vex, Curse of Discord, Bond of Pain, 3 stacks of Dark Water. Now, Dark Water should be shuffled up to 2nd on your priority list, right under Pain Transmission, once you've got the 3 stacks up. Until then, initially when you do it, focus on getting the other dots up. So when all of these dots are up, and look at them, there's about fucking 7 to manage, then it's going to be spam Seismic Desecration. What you can do for probable ease is actually macro Pain Transmission, Marrow Harvest, and Somatic Desecration together, just to make it a bit more easier. However, I prefer to play without the macros. However, I probably should be using macros to get a bit more DPS out of it. But basically, I'll change a few things around and add a nice little easy macro for you there and add a priority list to do. So basically, all you need to worry about doing is keeping all the dots up on the target. And yeah, smashing Pain Transmission and Somatic Desecration and Marrow Harvest when all the dots are up. So yeah, it sounds complicated, but once you get into the swing of things, it's a fairly easy spec to pull off. I like to do the Siphon Vitality, Vex and Curse of Discord in a row, just because it makes it quite easy and nice to get into the flow of. So that's basically it for the DPS. I mean, it comes down to doing a priority list and executing that priority list, which, you know, as I said, I'll put in the description of this video so you can easily follow that and not have too much problem with DPSing. Now, the main thing that Defiler brings to the table, I mean, the most thing is the links, really. 30% damage off the tank is a shitload, and that does help. But every time you deal a damaging ability, the mitigation of your link, double that, has a chance to apply a stack of something called Foul Growth, which is a heal that can be detonated using either feedback, Loathsome Restoration, and Ghastly Restoration. And now all these detonates have various pros and cons, but basically, so Link of Agony has a 60% chance every time you use a damaging ability, Link of Suffering 40%, Link of Misery 20%, and Link of Distress 10%. So pretty much all your tanks, every sort of 5 or so seconds, they're going to have 3 stacks of that, providing, you know, you're going heavy and hard DPS wise. So there are the various ways to detonate it are Ghastly Restoration, which is a quick off global cooldown detonation, which is on one target. Feedback, which will detonate the Foul Growth on all of your targets, and also Loathsome Restoration, which is an on global cooldown single target detonation. Now, it really depends on sort of the fight. It's very situational. Use it to the best of your ability, and yeah, just do that. One thing you probably don't want to have down in a raid, I'm just going to sort of explain this, is there's something called Beacon of Despair. Now, in a lot of fights, because Beacon of Despair, basically when it takes damage, it also deals damage to you. There are a lot of one-shot abilities in raid mechanics that will also one-shot you, so it's usually a bad idea to have this beacon down in a raid environment, or you will find yourself kind of randomly dying. So try and take that off your bar, or just not use it in a raid environment. It can be a slight DPS increase, just due to the fact that it also counts as another target for Pain's transmission. So there are certain scenarios where it might be a DPS game, but the main thing is when you're new to a Defiler, you don't want to sort of go a bit over the top and die, basically, and this beacon will get you killed on quite a few fights. So I don't suggest not using it, or just making sure, you know, it's okay to use it and there aren't many one-shot mechanics. So that's pretty much it for Defiler, guys. Just to summarize, you know, you do the standard rotation, which is keeping up all your dots and spamming the various spam abilities using Pain Transmission off cooldown, Marrow Harvest, and then apart from that, spamming Somatic Desecration, and that is pretty much it. It sounds bloody complicated on paper. It's bloody complicated. The easiest Defiler guide, which Spence has written, is like fucking 30-odd thousand words long and just stupidly complicated, but it does cover everything in great detail, so that's pretty cool as well. I mean, the only final thing to cover is you also do have a heal over time, which is Hideous Reconstruction. This is okay, but in all honesty, there's not too much scenario where it should be used. The only healing Defiler is good for, literally you have no AOE, so it's just healing on 2 tanks. The 10% and 5% linked targets will really rarely get stacks of Foul Growth. So in all honesty, if you're a raid leader and you're looking, you know, to know how Defiler works, Defiler is only really for tank and spot healing. The only other bit of Defiler healing that I'd just like to mention is the combination of Explosive Growth, which instantly applies 3 stacks of Foul Growth, and Loathsome Restoration, or any other detonation. So this can be used to really quickly put a big heal on somebody in an emergency. The only downside to it is it does cost a lot of mana. So in this scenario, when you're alternating Explosive Growth and Loathsome Restoration, you are going to burn through your mana pool extremely fast, so just be aware of that. Anyways, that is pretty much it for Defiler, guys. It's quite hard to explain via video without showing raid footage, but what I'll do is I'll write a written guide to accompany this, and hopefully that should cover up anything. Please, guys, I really do encourage you with this to ask questions in the comments of the video, just due to the fact that I believe there is still a bit more that needs explaining, and just let me know any questions, anything at all. I will try my best to answer everything. Once again, guys, thank you for watching, and yeah, take care.